On today's show, what is the importance of a strong leader to the successful functioning of a school? And what happens to a school and its students when it's led by weak, ineffectual leadership? Welcome to Education Today. I'm your host, Solanke. I spent 15 years in the secondary classroom teaching English, reading, and social studies. I've also been on the other side as a parent of 3 children who have completed the formal schooling years of kindergarten through 12th grade and are now in the college and career stage. Now I'm here to have conversations with teachers, administrators, school staff, students, and parents about all things education. Join me as I cover current topics in education from preschool through to college, career, and beyond. I'm here today with Wil Sekajipo, who is a math teacher, a secondary math teacher in Maryland. Welcome to the show, Wil.
Thank you.
And how many years have you been teaching math in the secondary classroom?
Ooh, I believe this is year 18.
Oh, wow. Longevity. So I know for most of your career, you were teaching in the Tampa Bay area. How many years were you in the Tampa Bay area?
Um, I want to say it's almost 14 years, I think.
Okay. And then a few years ago, you relocated up north to Maryland and you've been teaching um, math in the secondary classroom in, I believe, 2 different schools up there. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yeah. So, from what I remember, as fellow teachers, you and I would always have conversations about education and about our schools. And for all the years that you were teaching in Florida, in the Tampa Bay area, I don't remember you being very negative about your teaching experience. But the few negative conversations that we did have seemed to always stem around leadership. And then what I've noticed now since you've relocated up to the Maryland area is that in our conversations, it seems to be have been a pivot so that now um, you tend to have a positive stories about leadership in school. So is that a true statement?
Yeah, I would say that's a true statement.
Yeah. So it seems like you've experienced 2 different spectrums of administration or leadership in schools, perhaps poor or weak leadership, and now strong leadership. So, what would you deem to be the importance of a strong leader or administrator to the functioning of a school?
Everything. Um, so there's so much to do on the school grounds, and the job of the leader is not necessarily to do it, but to empower the people that are there to tap into all those talents
Yeah.
uh, from the different teachers and just kind of just manage that and shepherd that.
Yeah.
And when leaders do that well, schools thrive. And
Hmm.
when leaders do that poorly, schools suffer. So I think part of the job of the leader is to be able to see. You almost have to even well first you have to make sure people feel cared for and feel seen, but then also inspire people to go beyond themselves, to not settle, to strive for more. Um, and so when a leader is able to believe in you and believe that you can do more than where you started, because obviously in the profession we're all trying to grow, and so you need that leader that can basically say, "Hey, I think you could do it,"
Hmm.
and just and give you the space to grow and make
Yeah.
mistakes, and also give you the trust you with responsibilities that will allow you to grow.
Yeah.
And so,
You mentioned the influence of a leader. Um, in terms of empowering, you said people empowering people. Are you talking about teachers, students, or both?
both, but I think the teachers obviously deal directly with the students. And so when you're in the classroom as a teacher, you get, 120, 150 students, however many. And so you do your best to try to push those students to get better and to do well and to grow and so forth. But so what I believe should happen is as you move back So now, if I'm a teacher, I can only, for the most part, I'm only impacting those 150 students.
Mm-hmm.
But if I'm a leader and I'm able to impact 10 teachers who are themselves responsible for hundreds of kids, now I'm impacting thousands.
Yeah.
So a good leader is able to impact the entire school because they're able to impact the teachers and the staff. And so your ability to inspire is so much more as the head leader.
Yeah. You mentioned administrators giving teachers space to grow. Do you believe that it is more effective for an administrator to be more hands on, hands off, or perhaps there should be a balance in between the both?
Um, I've had in my experience, I've experienced both.
Yeah.
Um, and I don't necessarily know I can say, okay, well, one's a better approach and so forth. But the problem when what I do find though is that when leaders are try to control every detail,
Mm-hmm.
the challenge is, uh, do people believe in that thing you're trying to micromanage? Because a lot of times I've experienced like this leader is so focused on having everybody carry out this one particular idea that no one has bought into or what strategy for the season,
Mm-hmm.
because every year is a new strategy,
Yeah.
and they're so adamant about executing that strategy. So okay, let me be more specific. So for instance, like where I'm at right now, the goal was to improve student discourse, which is a valiant goal.
Mm-hmm.
um, but in terms of how you get there, my leader, my principal, initially, you know, and it always happens, was thinking about it not from a math standpoint, but it's like, well, Socratic seminar. Now, that strategy is a reading strategy.
Mm-hmm.
It works great in those classrooms, but it doesn't necessarily transfer to a math classroom.
Yeah.
Now, the leadership that was under prior would say, no, the strategy that we're all doing is Socratic seminar. I don't care if it's math, science, whatever.
Yeah.
But
Music, PE.
right. and so the conversation I was having with her was like, listen, the goal is not Socratic seminar. The goal is to improve student discourse.
Mm-hmm.
You do have to understand that that strategy doesn't necessarily fit exactly into math. So I'm still on board with the goal
Mm-hmm.
of improving student discourse. However, let's from a math side, let's do it a little different. She was open to that. As long as we were able to achieve the goal, she wasn't fixated on you have to do this one strategy.
Yeah.
And so I think the leaders have to be flexible and allow things to be contextualized and trust. And that's why I said trust your teachers, because she trusted us to contextualize the goal that she was trying to achieve.
Yeah.
And then we felt empowered because we felt we were bringing what we knew to the table, and we were still part of the team, but we weren't being forced to do something that just did not fit.
Yeah. So buy-in.
Right.
Yeah.
So we were able to buy in because we weren't just doing something just to do it. Because if she was continue pushing Socratic seminar, we would have probably tried it, but we wouldn't believe in it,
Yeah.
and we would have just did it, just kind of gritting our teeth, and it just wouldn't have been effective anyway, and it would just been a waste of her time and our time, and it doesn't build morale. It doesn't help, and it wouldn't have achieved the goal of improving student discourse in the first place.
Yeah. So, based on your own experience, how can weak and ineffective leadership damage a school's culture?
Um, a weak and effective leadership that will, instead of building morale and camaraderie, it will basically become, what's the popular thing, quiet quitting.
Yeah.
I think that was like the phenomenon.
Yes.
People will be present in body, but they just won't be giving their all.
Yeah.
It takes a lot to be a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so I think when people are in a setting where they feel this leader understands that I'm working. This leader supports me. Um, they tend to do more.
Yeah.
But when they're in a setting where they just don't get that, people will do the bare minimum. Um, and the truth be told, it's like when there's so much that we have to do beyond the 8 hours that we're
Hmm.
present at school. Our job cannot really be carried out just based on the 8 hours of school.
Yeah.
So to be effective, we have to do almost another a part-time job outside of school
Hmm.
just to,
Yeah.
to make sure we can do our full-time job. And so if you're gonna be in a setting where you want teachers to make that sacrifice, they gotta feel appreciated. They gotta feel cared for,
Yeah.
and they gotta feel like you're supporting them. And when weak leaders don't understand that, they all they get is the 9 to 5, if that.
Yeah.
Um, and it just doesn't work.
Yeah. Well, thank you for listening to this episode of Education Today. We'll be back next time with more current topics on all things education. In the meantime, you can email any questions or comments you have about the show to edtodaypodcast@gmail.com. If you enjoy the show, please hit the subscribe button on whichever platform you are listening so we can continue to expand our reach. If you'd like to hear more from me, you can check out my blog for more about my experiences as a classroom teacher at medium.com/@SOKOR. That's medium.com/@SOHKOR. You can also find me on Instagram at @SOKOR_rights. That's SOHKOR_rights.